All right, we are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another live stream here at the Ellipsis project. My name is Ronnie, and I'm very happy to have you here in this beautiful morning or early noon if you happen to be in the United States at the moment, or the let's say the Western hemisphere, or maybe it's like an afternoon or evening like it is right now here. I happen to be in the Middle East, in Israel. Wherever you are, I hope you had either had a great day so far, or your day is just beginning and it's going to be great. And if your day is just beginning, I do hope I am one of the reasons that it is going to be great. So I'm glad you joined me on this live stream, which we're gonna do some relaxing music today, some meditative music that can help you relax and get into a deep state of, well, relaxation, but also, if you would like it, focus as well, because meditation is about focusing on something which we don't usually focus on too much, such as our breathing, for example. It's a very good thing to focus on, especially if you're a beginner in meditation. So we focus on something, and by doing that, we give our mind permission to let go of a lot of things that trouble us and occupy us in our day-to-day life. Anyway, we're gonna do that. As I said, I hope you had a good day, a good week behind you, good week in front of you as well. But this week for me, for example, I had my birthday. I turned 32 years old this week, beginning my 33rd year of life on this earth, as my dad used to say. And so it was I definitely had a good time. I didn't do much. I wrote a post about it on my Facebook page saying basically, I'm not very sentimental about birthdays. I mean, they're fun. I don't hate. I'm not one of those people who hates their birthday either. But I'm not sentimental about it. I mean, I've had some great birthdays in my life. I had some that were like meh, and I had some that were honestly quite bad, and I didn't want them. Like, I was very disappointed, and the fact that it was my birthday sort of gave it even more a feeling of badness, because I was like, ooh, this is supposed to be a special day, but I'm feeling like shit, so this is not good at all. But yeah, anyway, this year wasn't like that. This year I had a very relaxing day on the day of my birthday. 2 days later, I went with my mom and our neighbor to this restaurant. Actually, it was 2 days ago. Which was a great time always. And I have a gathering with friends that is actually planned for a week and a half from now. And hopefully that's going to be very fun as well. And other than that, I've spent the week doing all the stuff that I usually do, work, do these live streams, do other things with my time, working on projects, reading and watching videos about everything that is happening right now in the world. You gotta keep yourself updated. We are, as a world, as a humanity, I'm not even talking about a specific country or a specific people, we are getting into a very, very strange time, I think, in the history of our race, the human race, or maybe even nature in general. This age where changes are going to come super fast to our world and to our society, so fast that we might not even notice that something completely drastic has changed in the way we live our lives until it has already happened, maybe until it has been happening for a while. Because when you get down to it, really, we live in this modern world with all this technology and all these fancy things, but we are very slow and simple creatures, human beings. I think of myself that way as well. Like, I like to think that I'm this very intelligent guy who's doing all this very interesting, deeply intelligent, creative work. But there are a lot of moments when I catch myself and I say, you're just an ape, really. That's all you really are. You're just an ape with fancy tools. But yeah, anyway, enough about that. And we didn't come here to talk about all the big things that are happening in the world, because that's gonna totally take us out of focus for this kind of practice. So today I have a few interesting things planned, and we're going to start with something relatively simple, something that you can do wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Doesn't matter what your skill level as far as meditation is. It's called NSDR. It's something that is now sort of gaining in prominence in a lot of the even more like hardcore scientific sort of groups on the internet. I mean, I first heard about it in the Huberman Lab podcast, which, shout out, it's a great podcast if you want to discover something new, very interesting, very, great podcast. I can't recommend it enough. But he talked about this idea of NSDR, which is non-sleep deep rest. And what we're going to do basically is we're just going to take a little while, just about 10 minutes or so, just to get us into the flow of what we're going to do today. And just sort of reteach our mind how to focus on something. And this is a very simple practice. There's no spirituality involved. There's nothing like that. It's just you and your brain. And what I'm going to ask you to do, well, just in general, first of all, I would say that whatever you want to do during this live stream is fine with me, really. If you want to lay down and close your eyes, that's great. If you want to sit upright and close your eyes, that's also great. If you want to have your eyes open, that's fine. And if you want to be, walking around the house, doing your dishes, doing the laundry, doing some tasks that you know how to do in like an automatic way, that's great as well. I often get into a meditative state by doing that, or by playing the piano, for example. I wouldn't suggest that you play a musical instrument. It's going to be a little difficult with hearing me on the piano. I mean, if you have absolute pitch, maybe you can join in. I don't know. You can sing with me. But just in general, get into a place that you can let your mind sort of focus on my voice, focus on the music. Don't do too much. So as I said, you can do things that you're completely familiar with, but don't do anything that would require you to cognitively exert any amount of effort. Physically, maybe, if it's very light kind of physical activity that you're used to, something like walking or something like that, or maybe even swimming, which we are going to talk about because that's also something I did this week, but a little later. But just for now, get into a position, either walking around or lying down with your eyes closed or sitting with your eyes closed, your eyes open, whatever, and just think about, well, we're going to use your imagination here, and I want you to picture your body in your imagination, and picture yourself, your consciousness, whatever that is, however you want to call it, however you want to look at it, if you want to call it your soul, if you just want to call it your consciousness, whatever is in the front of your brain right now, whatever you're focused on. And imagine that it's this ball of light, and it's made of, well, light, or maybe a type of a gas, or maybe a liquid even. The point is that it's something very kind of amorphous and flowing, and we can pour it into any container that we want, and it will assume the shape of the container that it's in, right? So something like a liquid or a gas made of light, shining bright, and that is you, that is your consciousness. And we're going to use that consciousness to take a tour around our bodies and sort of do like an inventory checklist or something. Not really a checklist, it's just like looking at a certain body part and seeing what is, or feeling what is the state that it's in right now. And we're going to do this with no judgment, so there's no good or bad in this exercise. There's no like, oh, I should be feeling this, or I should be feeling that, or, you know, if we reach a certain body part, let's say our wrist, for example, and we find that there is a lot of tension there, it's not necessarily bad. I mean, sure, you can try to release the tension, but don't be angry at yourself for holding it. Don't be judgmental at yourself. You're just here to observe what is happening right now in your own body. And we're going to start, first of all, by taking a big, deep breath in through your nose. Take a deep breath, really fill up everything that you can fill up, and hold your breath just for a few seconds, and then release it through your mouth and just let it go out. And we're going to take 3 more breaths like this. You can do them on your own without my guidance, and we're just doing this to signal to our consciousness that we have now shifted into a different state where we're going to focus on what's happening inside of our body. So after you've done that, after you took yourself these 3 or 4 breaths, just deep in through the nose and then out through the mouth, we're going to take this radiant liquid, this ball of light that is your consciousness, and pour it in our mind's eye, in our imagination, into your right foot and your right big toe. And once again, just let it hang there for a couple of seconds. Just feel whatever it is that you're feeling. no judgment, there's no right or wrong. Just say hi to your big right toe and try to ask it how it's doing today. And just observe the answer. And from your big right toe, we're going to pour our consciousness and continue. And we're going to pour it from the big right toe on to the next toes of your right foot. Going to the second toe, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. Finally, we're going to expand our consciousness to include all of the toes together. So your consciousness, this radiant liquid, is poured into all of your toes in the right foot, and you're just noticing. Just observing. And we're going to move on and continue in our mind's eye. Continue to the sole of the foot. And the ankle. And finally we can expand our consciousness again and look at the whole foot, your whole right foot. We're gonna go up from there to our ankles. And we're gonna go up to our calves. And further up to your right knee. And finally, we can expand this whole bowl of radiant light or fluid and see in our mind's eye our entire right foot. And of course, you know what's coming next. We're headed to the pelvis, which is your seat of power. Both physically, both literally and figuratively. It's part of your core. It's what you're literally sitting on when you're sitting. It's where your sexual organs are. It's where the essence and the power of life derives from. But we're going to continue here because we're going to visit the pelvis again very, very soon. But for now, just a small detour. We're going to shift our attention, this ball of light, to the big toe of our left foot. And once again, just like the right foot, notice how it's doing. We're going to continue to the other toes of your left foot. So, second toe, third toe, fourth, and fifth. And finally, expanding our attention, we can pour our consciousness to all 5 And continuing upwards to the sole of your left foot, and then the ankle, and finally your entire left foot. Moving upwards to your left ankle, and upward to your left calf, your left knee, left upper leg, and finally your entire leg, entire left foot. We're going to visit the pelvis once again. And imagine this big radiant light that is your consciousness. I mean, the pelvis kind of even looks like a bowl almost. So you can imagine that you're pouring this liquid into this bowl that is your pelvis, and it's sort of sloshing around there calmly, not, nothing too exciting, but notice whatever is happening there. Once again, no judgment. We're going to move upwards to your stomach, your belly, or also known as your core. All the muscles that are basically holding your entire body together go through this core. And we're going to move on upwards to your vital organs. Moving up through your diaphragm, your lungs, your spleen maybe, liver, heart, of course, protected by your sternum. And before we even notice it, we've already gone up the length of the entire torso. And we've reached the shoulders. And we're going to take a small detour here. So from the left shoulder, we're going to go down. Left upper arm, left elbow, left lower arm, left wrist, and finally your left hand. Palm, you can go one finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, and finally in your mind's eye you can see your entire left palm hand. And moving back up to your left shoulder, we're gonna take a short route across your chest and into your right shoulder. And from there go down to the upper right arm, right elbow, right lower arm, right wrist, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, back up to your right shoulder, stopping in the middle across your torso and moving up to your neck, your groin, your throat. Sorry, I said groin, I meant something else, but you get what I'm saying. Your throat, your vocal cords. Make sure you tell your neck to relax. Your shoulder as well, by the way. Shoulders. We hold a lot of tension in our neck and our shoulders usually. And we're moving up. We're going to get to the chin. And then through the face. The mouth. Lower lip. Upper lip. Nose. Eyes. Ears. Forehead. The very tip of your head. And then we're going to move even up to a few centimeters or inches above your head, somewhere in the air, and pour our attention there, concentrated in a bowl of light, and then spread this light all over your entire body and see your entire body in your mind's eye. And just notice how my body is doing today. Remember, you have a body. You are not your body, but your body is a tool that you can use. And it's important to check on this tool every once in a while. And then you can slowly, if you had your eyes closed, you can open them, leave the state, and come back. Good. So I hope this was relaxing for you. And yeah, it's a really fun exercise, this NSDR. You can use it, by the way, I think, well, you can use it to meditate, obviously. And you can use it, let's say if you wake up during the night and you can't fall back asleep. A lot of times it's good. I mean, I use it as well a lot, listening to some sort of an NSDR script. You can even, these live streams, they go on Twitch, YouTube, now kick.com as well. You can have, there's recorded reruns of these streams both on Twitch and on YouTube as well. So so you can even take some excerpts of this exercise that we just did and listen to it if you happen to wake up in the middle of the night and you can't go back asleep. A lot of the times the reason this happens is because our mind is constantly occupied. I know that I'm like this. My mind just constantly runs, just constantly goes on and on and on and on and on. It never quiets down. And before I go to sleep, I actually have sometimes trouble to quiet my thoughts down, because when I'm going to sleep, immediately, like my body is lying down, my brain is still going, oh, I gotta do this tomorrow. I did this today. That person said something to me, maybe today, maybe years ago. I don't know, like a lot of thoughts that go, and then, you can't sleep. And it's really nice when you have something else to focus on, like somebody else's voice, a story that is not really all that much interesting necessarily, but you can still listen to it and follow it. Another podcast that I can recommend to you, by the way, I'm doing a lot of shout outs today, but there's a podcast called Boring Books for Bedtime. And essentially, what the name suggests is exactly what it is. It's a podcast by this woman who is just reading books that are public domain texts. So most of these books were written like over 100 years ago. And they're books about, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say really boring subjects, but there's a lot of like gardening and like things like how to, I don't know, like very old archaic books of like teaching women how to be the perfect housewife or some kind of bullshit like that. Um, but it's very like she reads it in a very monotone voice, and you just listen to it to some very like archaic language, and you just fall asleep eventually because it just quiets your brain down. So yeah, so feel free to use that. And once again, I hope you're enjoying this. Just a reminder that once again, my name is Ronnie. This is Ellipsis, or the Ellipsis Project. And we are live every weekend on Saturdays and Sundays on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, now also on kick.com. And yeah, please follow me. Please follow my journey. It's kind of my mission to travel around the world, and I think bring people together through cultural exchange and art and music. And I'm going to do a lot of that very soon. So make sure to follow my journey because it's gonna get very interesting. So yeah, so thank you. And with that, let's see. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do now. I just started something this week. Something else that I started this week is I went back to swimming, which is something I really like doing. I've always liked doing swimming. I've learned how to swim when I was a very young kid, and I just kept going on and off. I'm not a great swimmer by any means, but it's nice. I like the experience of it. And the problem is that you need a swimming pool. Well, duh. Or you can swim in the ocean. But I actually don't like swimming in the ocean so much. I really like the kind of consistency and regularity of a swimming pool that is man-made. No big waves, no crazy flows that drag you all over the place like in the ocean or in the sea. So swimming in swimming pools, I just had a new swimming pool open just this last week, actually, right by where I live here in where I'm right now, actually in Israel. And I was very eager. I've been watching it getting built for like months and months. So I was like waiting, when will they open? When will they open? And then they opened, and I signed up. And already 3 days of this last week, I went swimming in the morning, and it has been amazing. So I'm gonna dedicate this next thing to me starting to swim again. And I'm gonna use some sounds from zenmix.io. That's the website that I'm using here, which you can see on the bottom right of the screen there. When I go to swim, I got these headphones that are special for swimming. So they don't get into your ear. They work by this technique of just sitting next to your ear and vibrating. And they're, of course, water resistant and all that. And I use that not so I can play music, but so I can play myself this binaural beat tone, which I'm gonna start playing right now. So I'm actually gonna play this one, not this one there. And it's meant for some relaxation. And I'm gonna add some natural sounds here. There are some sounds of the ocean. There we go. Maybe not as loud. A little softer. Yeah. And now I'm just gonna quiet down a little bit. I'm gonna silence this microphone so you don't have to hear my voice or the background noises. And I'm just gonna play you this music. And you can use it to once again relax, meditate, do chores around the house, whatever you want to be doing. All right. Okay. Nice to have you back. You had your eyes closed. You can, of course, open them now. I hope you enjoyed this piece inspired by me swimming. I think it's kind of, a lot of these, I don't really, I'll confess, I don't plan them all that much ahead of time. Because I know, I mean, I know my instrument, I know what it can do. I'm pretty confident in my ability to do it in real time and improvise. For example, right now, actually, as I was playing this, originally when I thought about this today, I added these sounds together. This, like you were hearing the piano sound, but also these bubbles. Nice, right? So I thought about that. That was like the my cute little gimmick for this piece, and the ocean sound obviously as well, because it's all about water and swimming, etc. You get the idea. But also, I never planned adding those strings, which are a little hard because the button here doesn't work very well. It's an old piano already, but these strings, right? So I wasn't planning on adding them in, but I felt like it at the moment, and I improvised it. So that was fun. And then this kind of like this sort of almost a motif, I would say, that I had in the bass there. I actually just played it like, oh my god. I don't know if you can hear that, but somebody's very angry on the street there, like honking. This is very, very common in Israel. I think a lot of people here need to have some meditation practice. Maybe they should come to this stream and they won't be so stressed out to honk out like that in public. Anyway, yeah, this motif thing I sort of figured out today, and I didn't plan it. I just played something and it sort of came up to be this thing. But when I played it, I was like, oh yeah, that is actually like, that really fits the kind of sound that my brain is going through as I'm swimming, as I'm doing these laps, I'm doing right now, because I haven't swum for a while, I'm doing mostly chest strokes, right? But I forget what is the name for that in English, like rowing, like something like that. So I do these as well, and yeah, it's always a feeling of like, like I'm moving through to this destination, and I'm gonna get to it, and I have this, like, I'm super focused, I'm laser focused, I have the binaural beats in my ears. The water is the great thing about swimming, is you have to be in focus because you're surrounded by water, and it's like you have no, like, the outside world is gone at that moment when you're inside the water. And even when you're coming out for air, it's like, you're back down very quickly, and you have earplugs and all that, so you're really focused in your own little world when you're swimming. And then, like, bum, 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 ba, ba, bum, ba, ba, bum. Give this a stride forward, bum, and another stroke, bum, bum, and another stroke, ba, ba, bum. So I'm just taking you through like my mental process, right? But this is not. This was also meant to be like relaxing as well in its own way, right? I didn't want to create. I thought that this rhythm was like maybe a little too fast, but even that, it's not super fast. It's not like, you know. Anyway, that's that. Right. The next thing that we are going to do here, let's see if it works, because my tablet here really needs replacing, and I actually got a new one. It's over there, still in its package, because I literally picked it up about half an hour ago. So I haven't had the time to, set it up and do all that. So I'll have to use the shitty iPad for now. But yeah, I'm going to continue reading this piece that I've started reading to you in the last stream that we had in Liav's place, Liav's studio in Haifa. The Discovery of the Future by H.G. Wells. And we're just going to continue to explore some of the sounds that I was using for this. Which is, all these very spacey kind of sounds. Yeah. So this is The Discovery of the Future by H.G. Wells, published in New York by B.W. I'm going to read it Hoops, even though it's Huebsch. Hoops. Anyway, it was published in 1913, so well over 100 years ago. And it talks about the future, funnily enough, if you've listened to the previous. And I have to confess, I don't quite remember where is the spot that we stopped at the last time, last week. But I'm just gonna continue reading from some random spot. As I said, the important thing is not really the article itself. It's not really the text itself. Is that by listening to my voice and by listening to this text, which is relatively interesting text, I have to say, philosophically, but also it's not like a very, it doesn't pertain to anything immediate that you really have to listen to. You can sort of tune in and out and and see what kind of experience it gets you to. Let me also put some, we're going to have some brown noise for this piece. If you're not familiar with brown noise, it's like white noise, but the frequencies are lower. I actually like it better. It sounds like this. Maybe a little softer. There we go. The reason why the retrospective habit, the legal habit, is so dominant and always has been so predominant is, of course, a perfectly obvious one. We follow a fundamental human principle and take what we can get. All people believe the past is certain, defined, and knowable. And only a few people believe that it is possible to know anything about the future. Man has acquired the habit of going to the past because it was the line of least resistance for his mind. While a certain variation portion of the past is serviceable matter for knowledge in the case of everyone, the future is, to a mind without an imagination trained in scientific habits and thought, non-existent. All our minds are made of memories. In our memories, each of us has something that, without any special training whatsoever, will go back into the past and grip firmly and convincingly all sorts of workable facts. Sometimes more convincingly than firmly. But the imagination, unless it is strengthened by a very sound training in the laws of causation, wanders like a lost child in the blankness of things to come and returns empty. Many people believe, therefore, there can be no sort of certainty about the future. You can know no more about the future, I was recently assured by a friend, than you can know which way a kitten will jump next. And to all who hold that view, who regard the future as a perpetual source of convulsive surprises, as an impenetrable, incurable, perpetual blankness, it is right and reasonable to derive such values as it is necessary to attach to things from the events that have certainly happened with regard to them. It is our ignorance of the future and our persuasion that that ignorance is absolutely incurable that alone gives the past its enormous predominance in our thoughts. But through the ages, the long unbroken succession of fortune-tellers, and they flourish still, witnesses to the perpetually smoldering feeling that, after all, there may be a better sort of knowledge, a more serviceable sort of knowledge than that we now possess. On the whole, there is something sympathetic for the dupe of the fortune-teller in the spirit of modern science. It is one of the persuasions that come into one's mind as one assimilates the broad conception of science that the adequacy of causation is universal, that in absolute fact, if not that little bubble of relative fact, which constitutes the individual life, in absolute fact, the future is just as fixed and determinate, just as settled and inevitable, just as possible a matter of knowledge as the past. Our perpetual memory gives us an impression of the superior reality and trustworthiness of things in the past, as of things that have finally committed themselves and said their say. But the more clearly we master the leading conceptions of science, the better we understand that this impression is one of the results of the peculiar condition of our lives, and not an absolute truth. The man of science comes to believe at last that the events of the year AD 4000 are as fixed, settled, and unchangeable as the events of the year 1600. Only about the latter he has some material for belief, and about the former practically none. And the question arises, how far this absolute ignorance of the future is a fixed and necessary condition of human life, and how far some application of intellectual methods may not attenuate, even if it does not absolutely set aside the veil between ourselves and things to come. And I am venturing to suggest to you that along certain lines and with certain qualifications and limitations, a working knowledge of things in the future is a possible and practical thing. And in order to support the suggestion, I would call your attention to certain facts about our knowledge of the past, and more particularly, I would insist upon this, that about the past our range of absolute certainty is very limited indeed. About the past, I would suggest we are inclined to overestimate our certainty, just as I think we are inclined to underestimate our certainty of the future. And such a knowledge of the past as we have is not all the same sort or derived from the same sources. And the question arises, how far this absolute ignorance of the future is a fixed and necessary condition of human life, and how far some application of intellectual methods may not attenuate, even if it does not absolutely set aside the veil between ourselves and things to come. And I'm venturing to suggest to you that... sorry. I think I'm returning to the paragraph that I already read. Ignore that. Let's continue. Let us consider just what an educated man of today knows of the past. First of all, he has the realest of all knowledge, the knowledge of his own personal experience, his memory. Uneducated people believe their memories absolutely, and most educated people believe them with a few reservations. Some of us take up a critical attitude even towards our own memories. We know that they not only sometimes drop things out, but that sometimes a sort of dreaming or a strong suggestion will put things in. But for all that, memory remains vivid and real as no other knowledge can be. And to have seen and heard and felt is to be nearest absolute conviction. Yet our memory of direct impressions is only the smallest part of what we know. Outside that bright area comes knowledge of a different order, the knowledge brought to us by other people. Outside our immediate personal memory, there comes this wider area of facts or quasi-facts told us by more or less trustworthy people told us by word of mouth or by the written word of living and dead writers. This is the past of report, rumor, tradition, and history. The second sort of knowledge of the past. The nearer knowledge of this sort is abundant and clear and detailed. Remoter, it becomes vaguer, still more remotely in time and space, it dies down to brief, imperfect inscriptions and enigmatical traditions, and at last dies away so far as the records and traditions of humanity go into a doubt and darkness as blank, just as blank as future. And now let me remind you that this second zone of knowledge outside the bright area of what we have felt and witnessed and handled for ourselves, this zone of hearsay and history and tradition completed the whole knowledge of the past that was accessible to Shakespeare, for example. To these limits, man's knowledge of the past was absolutely confined, save for some inklings and guesses, save for some small, almost negligible beginnings until the 19th century began. Besides the correct knowledge in this scheme of hearsay and history, a man had a certain amount of legend and error that rounded off the picture in a very satisfactory and fleeting way. According to Bishop Ussher, just exactly 4,004 years BC. And that was man's universal history. That was his all until the scientific epoch began. And beyond these limits, well, I suppose the educated man of the 16th century was certain of the non-existence of anything before the creation of the world, as he was, and as most of us are still, of the practical non-existence of the future, or at any rate, he was as satisfied of the impossibility of knowledge in one direction as in the other. But modern science, that is to say, the relentless systematic criticism of phenomena, has in the past 100 years absolutely destroyed the conception of a finitely distant beginning of things, has abolished such limits to the past as a dated creation set, and added an enormous vista to that limited 16th century outlook. And what I would insist upon is that this further knowledge is a new kind of knowledge, obtained in a new kind of way. We know today quite as confidently and in many respects more intimately than we know Sargon or Zenobia or the Caractacus, the form and the habits of creatures that no living being has ever met, that no human eye has ever regarded, and the character of scenery that no man has ever seen or can ever possibly see. We picture to ourselves the labyrinthodon raising its clumsy head above the water of the carboniferous swamps in which he lived, and we figure the pterodactyls, those great bird lizards, flapping their way athwart the forest of the Mesozoic age with exactly the same certainty as that which we picture the rhinoceros or the vulture. I doubt no more about the facts in this farther picture than I do about those in the nearest. I believe in the megatherium, which I have never seen as confidently as I believe in the hippopotamus that has engulfed buns from my head. A vast amount of detail in that farther picture is now fixed and finite for all time, and a countless number of investigators are persistently and confidently enlarging, amplifying, correcting, and pushing further and further back the boundaries of this greater past, this pre-human past, that the scientific criticism of existing phenomena has discovered and restored and brought for the first time into the world of human thought. We have become possessed of a new and once unsuspected history of the world, of which all the history that was known, for example, Dr. Johnson, is only the brief concluding chapter. And even that concluding chapter has been greatly enlarged and corrected by the exploring archaeologists working strictly upon the lines of the new method, that is to say, the comparison and criticism of suggested facts. I want to particularly insist upon this, that all this outer past, this non-historical past, is the product of a new and keener habit of inquiry and no sort of revelation. It is simply due to a new and more critical way of looking at things. Our knowledge of the geographical past, clear and definite as it has become, is of a different and lower order than the knowledge of our memory, and yet of a quite practicable and trustworthy order, a knowledge good enough to go upon, and if one were to speak of the private memory as the personal past, of the next wider era of knowledge as the traditional or historical past, then one might call all that great and inspiring background of remote geological time the inductive past. And this great discovery of the inductive past was got by the discussion and rediscussion and effective criticism of a number of existing facts, odd-shaped lumps of stone, streaks and bandings and quarries and cliffs, anatomical and developmental detail that has been about in the world, that has been lying at the feet of mankind so long as mankind has existed, but that no one has ever dreamed before it could supply any information at all, much more reveal such astounding and enlightening vistas. Looked at in a new way, they became sources of dazzling and penetrating lights. The remoter past lit up and became a picture. Considered as effects, compared and criticized, they yielded a clairvoyant vision of the history of interminable years. And now, if it has been possible for men, by picking out a number of suggestive and significant-looking things in the present, by comparing them, criticizing them, and discussing them, with a perpetual insistence upon why, without any guiding tradition, and indeed in the teeth of established belief, waves to construct this amazing searchlight of inference into the remoter past. Is it really, after all, such an extravagant and hopeless thing to suggest that by seeking for operating causes instead of for fossils, and by criticizing them as persistently and as thoroughly as the geological record has been criticized, it may be possible to throw a searchlight of inference forward instead of backward, and to attain to a knowledge of coming things as clear, as universally convincing, and infinitely more important to mankind than the clear vision of the past that geology has opened up to us during the 19th century. Let us grant that anything to correspond with the memory, anything having the same relation to the future that memory has to the past, is out of the question. We cannot imagine, of course, that we can ever know any personal future to correspond with our personal past, or any traditional future to correspond with our traditional past. But the possibility of an inductive future to correspond with that great inductive past of geology and archaeology is an altogether different thing. All right. So that was a little bit from The Discovery of the Future by H.G. Wells. I actually think I probably repeated a lot of paragraphs that I read in the past week, but that's okay. As I said, it's not really important. Maybe I'll mark this, like I'll mark where I am right now, or try to sort of remember. So for next week, I can start at that spot. Yeah. Yeah. I think this, to be honest with you, I'm sort of reading this article for the first time as well. I mean, I do know it from before. I have, especially this, the last paragraph that, oh wow, we have we have a lot to until we get to that paragraph, but it's a very nice paragraph. If you don't mind, I'm going to read it to you. I think it really sums up this idea about why he's saying here. I mean, remember, this article was written in 1913. That's quite a while ago. And if we're talking about the changes that the scientific research and method has brought to our world, I mean, they have only grown since then, and I might say exponentially, and are gonna grow even more exponentially. as we get into this age, um, which is the age of singularity. But if you're not ascribing to that, then forget what I just said. It's you're gonna see it happening one way or another, whether you subscribe to that theory or not. But yeah, so let me read you just the last paragraph. It is possible to believe that all the past is but the beginning of a beginning, and that all that is and has been is but the twilight of the dawn. It is possible to believe that all the human mind has ever accomplished is but the dream before the awakening. We cannot see, there is no need for us to see, what this world will be like when the day has fully come. We are creatures of the twilight, but it is out of our race and lineage that minds will spring that will reach back to us in our littleness to know us better than we know ourselves, and that will reach forward fearlessly to comprehend this future that defeats our eyes. All this world is heavy with the promise of greater things, and a day will come, one day in the unending succession of days, when beings who are now latent in our thoughts and hidden in our loins, shall stand upon this earth as one stands upon a footstool, and shall laugh and reach out their hands amid the stars. Yeah. And with that kind of message, I think we have reached the end of our stream for today. So once again, this has been Ellipsis. My name is Ronnie. I hope this stream was enjoyable for you, relaxing, maybe even profound. Who knows? It's kind of I'm playing with myself here, and you're over there in your head, in your brain. So only you know what this broadcast, what this live stream has been for you. But I hope it's been good. And don't forget to make sure that you follow me on any possible platform or outlet that might be out there that I am on, of course. And I'm spreading to more and more platforms as time moves by, but you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Ellipsis Bus, ELLIPSISBUS. That's the handle both on Facebook and on Instagram. And with the same sort of handle, Ellipsis Bus, you can find me also on Twitch. You can find my channel Ellipsis on YouTube. Now also on kick.com, which is a new streaming platform in beta. You can find my streams as well, such as this, for example. And yeah, and one of the easiest ways, I mean, if you can find it in the bio link if you go to my Instagram page, or I can just tell you the link. It's linktr, so ILNKTR.ee. So there's two E's. It's basically the word Linktree together, like these two words, but there is a dot before the EE. So it's linktr.ee/ Ronnie, RONI, just four letters, Ronnie GBZ Jr. JR. So linktr.ee/ RONIGBZJR is my link tree, which is where you can find all of my links. So if you don't want to go and search around for different platforms and different links, whatever, you can just go there and all the links are there. Please follow, please support this channel, please support my work. I'm going to do some cool things in the very nearby future that I really hope you are going to enjoy seeing me doing, joining my journey, and experiencing this very interesting world, let's say, through my eyes and through my music as well. So awesome. Thank you so much for listening, for viewing. Thank you so much for your support. And keep supporting this channel, of course. And where is my thingy that ends the stream? Oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah. So with that, this is Ronnie